So, yeah, hello everyone. This is Bahadir. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Fabrikatör. We are based in Berlin and we serve hundreds of brands in 46 different countries. I've been running Fabrikatör for the last 6 years, and so far I've seen all kind of inventory challenges in different verticals. And today I'll be very happy to share my insights about Q4 inventory with you. When I'm not dealing with inventory or D2C, talking to D2C brands, I really like going out playing table tennis. It's a big thing here in Berlin, or ride my bicycle into the forest. If the weather allows, I also enjoy doing a windsurf. So that's a little bit about me, and I would like to take you to my part where I split it into three sections. So Q4 is a very important part. Some call it Q5 because it deserves a whole revenue share for the whole quarter, especially the Black Friday part. That's why I split it into three sections: before, during, and after. Each of them requires a different level of attention. So we'll be walking through that. Before we start the Q4, it's the great time to do the demand forecasting and inventory planning. Maybe time-wise, we might be a little bit late to talk about this because considering the lead times with your suppliers, maybe you have already done your work. But the insights that I will be sharing here is not only applying to Black Friday, but it's actually applicable to any special day planning and marketing events around your brand. So let's move on to something that I call inventory planning cake. This is one of my favorite examples to explain where to start demand forecasting, because in order to have a delicious cake, you need to have a good base that can support the growth and the layers that you put on top. And for us, that base is inventory data. What I mean by that is having a very clear SKU notation, knowing your products, or at least having a system that knows your products by the unique identifiers, and also having a solid inventory tracking system where you have a real-time visibility of your inventory levels. Once you have that, the second level is order data. Order data helps us to look at historical demand and drive conclusions from there about the future. Order data is usually not something that you really need to be worried about if you're using a platform like Shopify, which already does all the standardization of the data. So that's easy. The third layer is demand forecasting. This is where we will talk about setting your sales targets, dreaming big, how much revenue you're going to make. We will talk about this in a separate slide. And the fourth level is supply plan. It's about how to execute your supply chain and how to work with your suppliers. And the cherry on top is the purchase orders. It's the result of this hard work and all the layers coming together. There's one common mistake that I've seen with the brands that I started working with, skipping the supply plan and skipping to the supply plan without the demand plan. What I mean by this is merchants do it because it's easy. When you look at your inventory levels, you can easily calculate an average looking at the past, and you can just say like, okay, we sold like 10 items a day. That's how much we are going to sell in Black Friday, and then increase it by 50%, 15 items per day we will be selling. This kind of like very easy conclusions can drive you to make huge mistakes, because your historical order data is also including days out of stock. So you're basically calculating the demand without excluding the days out of stock, which gives you a lower average than the actual demand. So these kind of things should be handled in the demand forecasting before you jump into supply plan. And demand forecasting, demand planning should be unconstrained. What I mean by that is you should dream big, think about your yearly sales targets, think about your P&L and how you're going to break it down to the Q4, how you break it down to the product categories and maybe individual SKUs. When you're doing this, you should not think about things like lead time, MOQ, cash flow, storage limitations, or logistics, because these are the things that will just give you a more conservative demand plan, which will be already restricted in the next step when you're doing the supply plan. So you're double restricting your plans by doing this at this stage. So demand plan, where the sky is limit, let that balloon fly as much as high as possible, and consider the things, your growth targets, historical sales data, and your market potential. Basically, a simple question. If you had unlimited space, unlimited cash, how much you would sell? what would be the willingness to buy in the market if you could have access to this unlimited sources, right? So put that in mind, and also build your demand plan based on that, because soon we will talk about the supply plan, which is constrained. There are some limitations. So it's all about making those SKUs ready in your warehouse when you need them. It's about executing that demand plan. If you're planning to sell 2,000 units in December and you have a month of a lead time, supply plan should tell you to receive these products, order these products a month ahead, right? So it's all about that. And that's where the constraints come in. That's where you have to think about the lead time, cash flow, minimum order quantities, logistics. Should I ship via air, ocean, portless, warehouse limitations, and shipping costs, which actually all of these will be covered. Like cash flow will be covered by 40Cs towards after these slides, and Easy will cover the shipping and fulfillment part. So stay for these parts as well, because they really make the full picture complete. So we covered the supply and demand plan as a principle, as a concept. Now, what I would like to talk about is how we do this with Fabrikatör. This part is a demonstration of Fabrikatör, but it's actually could be applied to any system. It's actually a representation of a mindset. So here, what we see on the screen, I don't know if I can make it full screen. I hope it's not going to screw it up. Let's try. Okay, nice. So what we see here is actually plan templates for different periods, marketing campaigns. We just build it for you, and you can choose which one you're going to plan for. When you click in one of those, you will be able to select the time period you want to plan it for. That's what the demand planning is about. Because if you think about replenishment, it's always about like what should be in my next purchase order. But demand plan is kind of a bigger picture. What should come after that purchase order and after the one coming after. So it's more of a long-term planning, and you can choose which time period to plan for. You can choose what kind of a demand forecasting strategy you want to use. We offer either an AI forecasting or based on last year's sales performance, because you can easily say like, hey, last Black Friday we sold this much, and this year we're gonna double it, so 100% growth rate per year. Based on this, we are doing the unconstrained planning for you. We are excluding the days out of stock in the past, so we are calculating the real demand. And then we are drawing a graph like this where you can see the forecasted revenue, COGS, and the units to be sold in the future. But what I also believe as a founder is that AI in this space, or machine learning, whatever technology we use in that space, is not going to give you the 100% accurate answer, because we don't know your business. It's an enabler. All of these tools are enabler for you to do your job more accurately or faster, but they're not going to know what you know. So you know what campaign you're going to run. You know the promises and the commitments from your marketing team. So this is where we let you edit any number that we lay out as a baseline. This is your collaboration table with your marketing team, handshaking with them and telling them like, okay, we're going to sell this much. Do you commit to this? Does it make sense with the all the customer acquisition costs that we have? Can we actually make it? And then we need to switch to the supply plan. Before we switch to the supply plan, actually, the first constraint comes into the play, cash flow. In order to supply the goods from November to March, as we selected in this plan, we need to buy 500,000 worth of inventory. We can buy it as a single purchase order that should be delivered at the beginning of November to cover the 5 months of demand, or we can buy it in singular purchase orders at the beginning of every month. So this first constraint is actually defining what our supply plan will look like, and then you can plan how much you're going to buy every month in terms of COGS. I think if you have someone who has done this before, seeing this picture will make you happy, your CFO happy, and your supplier happy as well, because it gives visibility to everyone. And it gives you a very good leverage. You can see how much you're going to buy from your supplier for a particular month. And based on that, you can actually negotiate. Hey, we're going to buy 200K from you for this particular month, and we are already telling you 3 months ahead. Let's negotiate. So use that leverage to get better margins from the supplier side. And at the end of this story, of course, this turns into a purchase order, and that's how you would continue your supply operations. This part was about before Black Friday. That's how we would do supply and demand planning. And now we will talk about during the Black Friday, what to do. Real-time inventory tracking. You should know what is selling better or worse during the Black Friday, so you can decide the actions to take afterwards. Like, are you going to run that promotion longer? Are you going to reorder that product for the Christmas, for the New Year's, or maybe the Q1? And track the lost stock SKUs, because when you run out of stock, this is the last thing that you want to have during the Black Friday if you're running a very good campaign, because when you run out of stock, this is what will happen on the left side. I really like this graph. Your sales will crash. And I call this bittersweet success syndrome, because you're happy, you've been selling so well, and then you ran out of stock, your sales just crashed. Your marketers hate this because they have to stop their ad campaigns. Platforms are punishing them. Algorithms are not liking the campaigns that are being on and off. So it's really hurting your business. But what we have is a contingency plan. If you have a streamlined purchase orders, which are coming one after another because you had a solid supply plan before, you should already have some products in transit coming after Black Friday, or maybe right during the Black Friday. With that data, with that visibility, you can actually take back orders. Back ordering is when you take orders while you're out of stock and fulfilling those when you receive the items back in your warehouse. On the right side, you see that the crash is still happening, but not as hard. It's kind of softened by the back orders because people are willing to buy something that is going to be shipped right away, compared to something that is out of stock. But I also know that many merchants have been burned by the back order experience as well. Like, really stable. You can have delays in your supply chain, and you don't want to lose face when you're talking to your customers when there's a delay. So everyone is somehow traumatized with pre-orders and back orders, and that's what we are addressing with Fabrikatör. We are automating the full process of back ordering. This is kind of like the safety net. Even though you did your planning perfectly, there might be things that are going wrong in the supply chain, or maybe a product was selling faster than you expected. This is where we come in. We take your purchase order data, update your storefront on Shopify, change the out of stock page to a pre-order page, printing the estimated shipment date based on the actual supply chain data on the product page, so your customers are aware what they're signing up for. And instead of collecting their emails for back in stock notifications, you're just converting them to paying customers. And believe it or not, for many people, actually, shopping is just a chore. Like, they want to get done with it. Like, they imagine that you pulled out your credit card, you are ready to buy that product, a gift for your girlfriend, for your mom, and you just see that it's out of stock, but you still have time. You want to get done with it, just put your credit card and buy it. That's the option that you give to your customers with the back orders. So the after part is all about doing a retrospective, like what sold better, what sold worse than expected. Can we actually utilize this data for restocking? Can it be a good sample for us to craft our strategy for the next year? So you need a report to see all of these things, helping you to make a decision. One friendly reminder, don't forget that there will be a Chinese New Year at the end of January, and that there's a huge jam of supply chain if you're late for it. I think if you haven't planned your Black Friday yet, at least plan the Chinese New Year accordingly, so you don't get last minute problems in your inventory. Thank you very much for listening. I will be very happy to show you how it works in person over a call. So if you like, you can shoot me an email and just book a demo. Yeah, and ready to answer any questions you may have.